Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to MFTG. Today I would like to share with you some recent progress in the application of meaningful type game theory, that's MFTG. The agenda now in the next couple of minutes is to describe you a class of MFTG for security, network security, so physical security as well as cyber security. So that we can analyze and see how these type of tools can be used to look at, detect, and anticipate attacks in the salient areas, in particular in Burkina Faso, in Mali, and in the neighboring countries. Game theory has been used to analyze conflict, to analyze war, to analyze security issues, either on ground security or aerial security, and so on and so forth, and more recently on cyber security. So right now, cyber security should be combined with the physical one because they all go together. It's a mixed one, and you cannot really do it separate. The tools that have been developed for cyber security are interesting, but might not apply to the ground security. In particular, in this area that we call underserved areas, we see some of the elementary materials that are used, but they are extremely efficient in terms of damage, in terms of in terms of consequences, because since they is underserved, the number of infrastructure is less. So once you attack these infrastructure, it becomes critical for the local population, both economically and in terms of losses, right? So here is the idea. The first thing is to model that's using meaningful type game theory. So it means risk awareness will be there, variance in particular will be there. That's critical. And the second thing is that we'll find recommendations by finding optimal decisions or equilibrium decisions. And this is really interesting thing that we wanted to share with you. So this is the setup. We consider three classes of decision makers. The first class is about attackers, the allies of attackers. So there is a group of attackers, and the coalition might evolve over time. So it means that it might start with single, and then become two coalitions, three members, four members, and break down to two, and then so on. So it might evolve over time, as we see in the field here. Now, the second coalition, the second group of players, is the group of defenders. So this might be local defenders, like hunters and so on, but it could be also governmental, or it could be international allies of defenders. And the third one is the local population. So they might or might not participate directly or indirectly, but they provide useful information. So they are part of the game because they have they have the victims, they have the consequences, right? The infrastructure is lost or direct victims, loss of lives, and the livestock, and so on. So these are part of the game. So this is why we have three classes of decision makers, and this is important because in classical game theory, attacker-defender games have only two players or two groups of players. Here we have three groups of players, and that makes a first. Second, the methodology for detection used in cyber physical security might not be directly useful here, but you can inspire from those. So distributed attacks are here. So distributed detection through agents that are sent into different localities. This is really useful because it's an inspiration from the existing technique, but it's different because this one is physical, and it has been used in other type of field on ground. But here is different because the technology that are used are going to be different. So this is the modeling aspect. So the first thing is the class of players, as we said, three group of players, and the second is now the decision of each of the players. For the group of attackers or allies of attackers, the decisions are the following. So they can have no attack, no trade, anything. They can have a trade. They can have an attack with a collective motorbike, and they can have an attack with distributed motorbikes. It means coming from different places but arriving at the attack place at the same time, right? But different routes, right, in a distributed way. These are the actions, but of course some of the actions might be, there might be some issues, like there will be a ban of motorbikes in a certain area, in particular at night, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. for example. But of course for an attacker, this type of rules might not be respected by the population, by those attackers. But if it's not respected, of course, that's my facilitate the detection, if there is a detection technique, as we will say. And the second group of decision maker is the group of defenders, of allies of defenders, and this include the hunters, the army, the local army, the international allies, and other kind of defenders. It might evolve over time as well. Different type of collaboration might happen, and there might be some breakdown, the breakout. There might be some some split and merge type of a coalition here over time. The third decision maker is the local population, and they have actually their actions that could be like sharing the useful information about detection to the defenders or to the attackers, or being neutral. So they have their choices, and the consequences, of course, are not the same. So they have different consequences depending on the choice they make, right? So these are the three type of decision makers and their decisions. Now the outcomes, right? So in the detection capability implemented by the defenders here is going to be important. So we start with detection techniques, and what we call abnormal activity detection. So AAD, abnormal activity detection. So it's a class of detection technique to detect possible movement of those attackers and so on. And this can be used, the actions are like no monitoring, or monitoring with drones, monitoring with helicopters, monitoring with the ground troop, aerial ones, and combining drones together with the local troops and so on. So the different combinations of monitoring need to be implemented, and detecting, for example, a 30 plus mobile bike moving in a certain direction or different directions, detecting this type of thing through drones is an interesting thing. We can use AI and other techniques to, image processing, right, to detect those type of things. So this is really combining the latest state-of-the-art technology, AI technology, and to get there with the ground, the military activities and so on. This is really at the top of the state of the art. Now, that's the detection. Now, the other actions of the defender might include, attacking this time. So they defending this time, with helicopters, with drones and so on. This time they are really defending their territory, not just monitoring, right? And of course, each of those infrastructure and techniques that are involved include some cost. So there is an outcome. You want to reduce number of victims. You want to reduce, economic damage. You want to reduce livestock damage. You want to reduce any kind of damage, infrastructure and lives as well. And the attacker might want to reduce the damage, but from their side. So attackers, they don't want to lose their attacker. They don't want to use their material. And so this is the part that they don't want to use, of course, to lose, of course. and they want to, of course, they want to gain. The victory means that they can catch a general army, or they can have civilian victims, and so on, right? So they want to create maximum damage by minimizing their cost in terms of material that they have. And the population, their goal will be to reduce the number of victims, right? The number of civilian victims, and then number of other victims. Any victim, they want peaceful place. They don't want any of those things at their place. They want to go to their economic activities and enjoy their life, right? So these are the three category of goals: players, actions for each of the players, and then outcomes for each of the players. Now, as you see, there are a lot of uncertainties. So detection uncertainties, this is not perfect. There will be some, some errors there, some false alarm, and so on. So we will involve their risk awareness in those type of alerts. And of course, the same thing happens in terms of, in terms of the victims. Some of them might be, trying to hide, and they might have different behavior, right? So the behavior of the population is going to play a key role, and very, very, very important in terms of the outcome, and this will over time. Now, this is for one specific infrastructure or one specific locality, and we sum all those outcomes over several infrastructures over the entire network, and then that will be the outcome of all the players, so populations, attackers, and defenders, and their allies, right? And we want to solve these Minifield type games, including the variance of the uncertainty in the outcome, min variance, type of payoff, for example. So we want to solve this Minifield type game over time, so that this will evolve over time, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years in some of the areas, and we want to see what is the cost associated to specific strategy, find the equilibrium cost, what is the how to implement them, how to achieve them, how to learn the detection techniques and their evolution over time, how to adapt ourselves to the environment that's going on from one side or for them the other, right? And here we have three-party, multiple-party, right? And how to take into consideration all those things. So these are the elements that are involved in the formulation of this Minifield type game for security in underserved area. Now the next step is to solve this, and we'll give you some examples on how to solve those things in the lecture here. These are what I wanted to share with you today, and I would like to thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time, and see you soon on MFTG. Bye.